Awareness about one of the most common forms of cancer remains disturbingly low because of a reluctance to talk about it. That's the take-out message from a series of focus groups looking at why so many Australians over 50 refuse to take part in a free home screening test for bowel cancer. Peter McCutcheon reports, and a heads up, there's nothing too gross in this story, but it does include footage of a medical procedure.
Awareness about breast cancer has undergone a transformation from being almost taboo 40 years ago to a celebrated part of popular culture. But some of those taking part in Brisbane's Mother's Day walk for breast cancer research found it difficult to imagine a similar revolution for a less glamorous part of the body. Do you think we will ever see an event like this for bowel cancer?
No. That's a really intriguing question and left field. I didn't think you'd ask me that.
It's probably a subject people don't talk about as much.
Why is that?
Probably embarrassment, I'd say.
Everyone's happy to talk about their breasts these days, so we've got to be able to talk about our bowel motions as well, really.
It's a topic many Australians don't want to face. Most of the over 50s who received a free bowel cancer home screening kit in the mail haven't even bothered to do the test.
The take-up rate for home testing is just about 40%. And at the end of the day, that means that 6 out of 10 people who are receiving those kits are not using them.
Bowel cancer is the second biggest cancer killer in Australia, claiming more than 4,000 lives every year. And it can be prevented or successfully treated if it's detected early.
If you pick up the early stages, you can actually cure it at that moment in time, in which case that never progresses to bowel cancer.
OK, we'll do a couple of gastric biopsies, please.
The early stages refers to a small precancerous growth or polyp in the bowel, which Dr Tony Rahman is removing from a patient at his clinic at Brisbane's Prince Charles Hospital. The people with these polyps are unlikely to have any symptoms. But there is a simple way of finding out if you're at risk: a home screening test.
It's a very sensitive test that picks up traces of blood in your stool or your poo. And so essentially what that does, that then highlights the fact that there's something not quite right.
The latest version of the test has been mailed out to over 50s over the past 18 months, along with a multimedia campaign.
People who've done the test say it's quick, clean and easier than they expected.
But cancer awareness advocates concede the test isn't to everyone's taste.
Inherently, bowel cancer is about bowels, and bowels are also about poo, and the test is about sticking a little stick in poo and posting it off to the government. That's challenging. So have a seat, Juliet.
Thank you.
Juliet Snow is one of the minority of Australians over 50 who did the home screening test.
What happened when you saw it in the mail?
Panic.
Did you really panic?
I did actually, because I thought, oh, here we go, I do the test, and then there's the stress afterwards of what if it comes back positive, which it did.
And if that's positive, that just shows that there's a little bit of hidden blood in there, and that can come from a variety of reasons.
Juliet has taken time off work to find out about the next stage from a bowel care nurse, who explains in 90% of cases the detection of blood does not mean cancer, but Juliet will need to have a medical procedure to find out more.
You must be pretty pleased you did that test.
Yes, I am. I mean, I'd hate to have gone on and whatever is happening inside not know about it.
It's, in my words, a no-brainer. You know, if you can go through this process and have your bowel tests done, and that essentially helps you prevent getting bowel cancer, really, it just does not make sense not to do it.
So the question is, why are so many people refusing to do something that's clearly in their best interests?
We've used focus groups to try and understand some of the barriers and the enablers. The most important enabler is that if people have had a conversation with someone that they trust and whose opinion they value, their participation rate goes up.
And that's the thrust of a new campaign by the Cancer Institute of New South Wales.
That was perfect, because tomorrow I want to do a poo and then poke it with a little stick.
These ads were particularly targeting people in their 50 to 60 year age group because they have a lower participation rate than people in the 70 to 74 year old age group.
So make sure you do your test too.
But some have questioned the wisdom of sending out the kits to people just after they reach a sensitive life milestone.
Anecdotally, I know of many people who say they received their test just after their 50th birthday when they were having a bit of a, existential crisis about turning 50, and it led them or tipped them into avoidance.
That will include everything.
There's also a lower take-up rate in Indigenous and non-English speaking communities.
I think what we need to do is better explain the test to people and give them better and clearer instructions, and we can do a better job at that.
More than 17,000 Australians are expected to be diagnosed with bowel cancer this year, and the key to increasing survival rates is the home screening test.
Other screening programs have become more acceptable because people are more open to talking about it. So we're looking at breast cancer, for example. The screening program has been very successful. So I think bowel cancer is just one of those things that it's not at the top of the conversation list, but we need to get it there.